What is up, everybody? My name is Aaron Knoll, and welcome back for one last time this year to the Movie Battleground. I want to thank everyone just off the top for all the support and everything that we've had over the year because it's built up to this big match. We have the final title match of the season. Henry Sanchez, who is just at this point a fucking juggernaut in this league. He's got an overall record of 8-1. He has already defended this belt twice. He took down an undefeated competitor to take it over and has defended twice since, and is just a juggernaut. And going up against him is arguably the person who is best fitted to potentially defeat him of everyone who's played him, in the form of Amaru Moses, who is overall just a well-rounded player. He's got experience in every area that will be tested of him today. So I think this one will be an incredibly interesting matchup. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time because this one's going to get long enough as is. We will jump to the competitors because introducing first, he is the challenger of this match, coming in with an all-time record of 7 wins, 1 defeat. He is Amaru Moses. Amaru, welcome back, sir. How are you doing today coming into this?
I'm good. I'm ready to go. I love debating. I've never debated Henry. And so this is going to be a very fun one. We have talked many a times, but actually having to argue against each other. It's a friendly friendship that I know both of us can get heated over things. So it's going to be a good time. I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So coming into this, like I said, 7 wins, 1 defeat. Statistically, right now, you have the best record in the league outside of course, our champion. It is far and away with the most impressive thing we have. You also hold a very particular record in that you are the most successful blind round player we have had in the league. You have played the blind round in 6 of your 8 total matches, and you have won 5 of those 6 blind rounds, which is absolutely incredible. Last match, we saw Chad take Henry on, and his lack of experience in the blind round was the thing that ultimately led to his defeat. So how do you think your experience, the fact that you have played before the relaunch as well, all of that comes together to help your chances today?
It just makes me not as nervous as normal. I've been through blind round. I've been through every kind of competitor. I do think I have a knockout on my record, but most of the time I get people's best. So getting Henry's best means we're probably going to a blind round. I hope not, but we'll see. And me knowing how to do those will definitely help me out. And again, make me not as nervous as I usually am before any type of match.
All right. Well, it's great to have you here, sir. I'm going to go ahead and put you in the back as we introduce your opponent, coming in as the defending champion of Movie Battleground with an overall record of 8 wins, 1 defeat, and 2 knockouts. He is Henry Confidential Sanchez. Henry, welcome back to the Battleground, sir. Again, that's an impressive record. 8 wins, 1 defeat, and 2 knockouts. 2 title defenses at this point, 3 title match victories, including the match that you won. You were the person that took down Joe Fairley's all-time 9-0 undefeated record. You took down the first rookie of the league in Chad Webb to make it to a title match. You took me out, which is really nothing, all things considered, but it was a fun match nonetheless. How are you feeling coming into this final match of the season?
Good. It's interesting in terms of the timing of recording. Me and Rue are definitely both in places in our life where we're super busy and our minds aren't as there as it would normally be, outside of this literally 2 to 3 week, time frame. But it's one of those things that our abilities are going to overcome that regardless. And I'm really confident in these questions. It's always one of those ones when you go into questions where you're like, all right, even though my ability is I'm going to be able to overcome the questions. I like all these questions and it's a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of interesting takes and approaches to them, and as Rue said, we've never been able to debate, but we've talked a lot. We're going to put aside our shared love of the New York Knicks right now, and we're going to debate movies, and we'll see what happens. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys who have watched the show, especially back since day one, you guys are used to the fact that I like to schedule things to give me some breathing room. Normally we record these things like 3 weeks plus sometimes in advance of their actual upload. To give you guys a window, this is being uploaded on the final day of the season, Sunday, December 18th. We're recording this on the 10th. It is literally being recorded about a week before it'll upload, which is one of the tighter windows we've ever had. So the less fuck-ups, the better for me in editing. But we will see how this goes.
you, dog.
We'll go ahead and bring in Amaru, and we will go ahead and get into
Go.
And this is a title match, so it is a bit different than normal. This is a best of 7 rounds. It is going to be the first of 4 points will win the game. Each round is worth 1 point. If a competitor does pick up the first 4 points in a row, that will be a victory by knockout. However, if after the end of all 6 rounds, it is a 3-3 tie, that means we will move on to round 7, quote unquote, which is our sudden death blind round. In terms of the first 4 rounds and how these will work, these are the questions that are just like normal. The competitors have been given them ahead of time. They've had a chance to prep their arguments. The way that this is going to work is they will have a 60-second chance to open the argument. That'll be followed by 2 minutes to, on their own, expand and explain their arguments more to the judges. Then there will be a 4-minute back and forth open discussion, and that'll be followed by 60 seconds to close up your argument. Following that, I do have 3 judges backstage in the form of Kevin Poss, Papa West, and Jeremy Potters. They will join us on screen, at which point, based on what the competitors have said, they will give us their deliberation on who gets the point. With that said, are you guys ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Rock and roll.
All right. So as we have done in the previous title matches, there is a certain level of facetiousness here because we don't ever reveal a competitor's strengths, but it is openly known that in a title match, the 4 questions that we ask are both strength questions. Each competitor gets to bring 2 strengths to this battle so that in some sense, everything that they're arguing at this point in time is something they would want to be discussing. And we're going to go ahead and start with one of the biggest breakout actors of the last few years. And I think over the course of the 2010s, Rue, we've discussed this before on your show, One Gotta Stay. We'll give that a plug. Of the fact that there have been a number of great up-and-coming black actors in Hollywood, and we have seen more and more black actors have a chance to not only take prominent roles in film, but also big roles in whether it be blockbusters or small dramas, and the chance to put those performances out there. And just in the last couple of years, one of those actors on the forefront would be Brian Tyree Henry, who of course first found his big jump being on Atlanta alongside Donald Glover. In the last 3 years, I guess technically, since 2022 is almost over, he's been in over 8 films alone in those 3 years, which more than qualifies to ask about the 2020s for us. The question is, what is the best film featuring Brian Tyree Henry of the 2020s so far? That's right. He's got 8 films in 3 years, and these guys have to pick out the best one within them. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get into this. Henry, as you are the defending champion, you have the choice of what questions to go first on. You have chosen to go first on the evens throughout the match, which means, Amaru, you are going to get to go first on this question. As I go ahead and pull in the timer for you guys, I do want to wish you best of luck. If you weren't the best that we had right now, you wouldn't be here. That said, I'm going to disappear to the back, and the timer will start for you, Amaru, when you begin speaking.
Brian Tyree Henry is not only one of the best black actors of the generation, but he's one of the elite actors, period, coming up. And the biggest reason is because he can do everything. He can say a line and it will cut you to your gut and you will laugh out loud. And he is absolutely considerably a dramatic heavyweight. He has all his emotion in his eyes. And the best movie that he has been in 2020 is a movie that puts him at the center and allows that to permeate throughout the whole thing. It's a movie that is comforting. It's a movie that is warm. It's a look into life and what you want to be and how you want to live it. And it allows Brian Tyree Henry to shine, then allows everybody around him to shine. It allows the neighborhood of Brooklyn to shine. And we'll get into that a little later with my 2 minutes. But the movie I picked is by far one of the most underseen, and everybody needs to go see this movie. It's called The Outside Story. If you never heard of it, please go ahead and do yourself a favor and go see this movie.
All right, so The Outside Story is Amaru's answer. Henry, over to you. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Thank you, Rue, for going first and solidifying the fact that Brian Tyree Henry is a fantastic actor in his ability to, showcase his abilities in a facet of different ways, both comedically, dramatically, and just having that presence of being a superstar. Bullet Train is his best movie of the 2020s and arguably one of his best movies of his entire career because although this is an ensemble piece, he steals the show. And that's saying something because this is a movie that has Brad Pitt on the front of the cover. Brian Tyree Henry's character of Lemon is fantastic because he has to to not only combine his acting abilities comedically, but also dramatically, but he also showcased a little bit of action and some crime elements to it, and having a little bit of fun with that. David Leitch is a director known for Deadpool 2 and being part of the John Wick movie, so he definitely part of the action. So the fact that Brian Tyree Henry was even selected at all in this showcases that he has the ability and the range to handle that. Whereas in the Outside Story, we're getting specifics later for 2 minutes, but I feel like it's a little bit singular noted, whereas in Bullet Train he handles everything that you ask for him and succeeds broad.
And time. All right, so The Outside Story versus Bullet Train. We are leaving the modern classic Eternals on the table to argue these two films. With that said, Amaru, you are up first. 2 minutes on the clock when ready.
So in The Outside Story, Brian Tyree Henry plays an editor who's an introvert. And it's funny because in 2020, everybody was inside, and it kind of mirrors what we were going through being inside, except he wanted to be there. And him staying inside his entire life has made him stuck. It has stuck him in his dead-end job, in a relationship that he loves but can't move forward because of what he's doing. And what happens is, going out to get some food, he brings the wrong keys out and ends up locking himself out. And what ensues is a 90-minute, just big, warm hug of him getting to know the kind of person he is, getting outside of himself, and getting to know what kind of better man he can become because he gets to know his neighborhood. I'm not comparing the movies, but I compare the feeling to do the right thing and how the neighborhood of Brooklyn becomes a character, and Brooklyn is a character in this. The people he has to interact with, it's hilarious because there's his neighbors, when he's trying to get into the house, he says, "Hey, it's me," and they don't know him, and he then has to mention his live-in girlfriend, and they're like, "Oh, I know her." That's how much they don't know him. That's how much he's stuck. And what he does is he has to go just to interact with so many people that make him a better person, including a meter maid, who, all of these people can have their own movies, how great they are. A hilarious meter maid who actually enjoys giving tickets, and they grow a kind of bond to talking to each other. A little girl who has an overbearing mother who he has to gets on the roof and has great stories and goes to her apartment and figures out that there are more people going through a lot of things just like he is. His upstairs neighbor who he has to continuously ask to buzz in over and over, and he ends up being in a throuple, and they use that kind of device. You think, oh, that's throwaway. That throuple ends up giving him the best advice to his relationship that he has ever heard. And a widow trying to find a new life after her husband dies. And the best thing about it, though, is he is the center. He is the one that showcases all their wealth and why the story is so
time. Great. All right, Henry, back over to you.
So although Brian Tyree Henry might be technically the center of his story in The Outside Story, within Bullet Train and Ensemble Piece, he steals the show. And like I said, this is a movie that has Brad Pitt on the cover. This is a movie that handles various different storylines that come together. And Brian Tyree Henry's character of Lemon is combined with his brother, Tangerine, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, and their ability to both be comedic as well as being menacing, thugs and hitmen and all that stuff, and really have that fierce presence to them. So they're able to handle both of those situations. And also, it's one of those ones where if you watch this movie and you never seen Brian Tyree Henry before, you would actually believe he was British because his accent is fantastic, and that showcases his acting ability because Aaron Taylor Johnson actually is British, so they used his British accent, and then Brian Tyree Henry brought that over. So it's one of those ones where you would, if you never heard him speak before, you would be shocked that he wasn't British because of how fantastic he did. And the fact that these aren't the main characters, but halfway through the movie, getting into spoilers because it's a newer movie, but in Bullet Train, the death of Tangerine, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, the emotion that Brian Tyree Henry's character is able to bring up in that, and even leading into that, his fake death or potential death at the point that we didn't know later that we find out was didn't happen. The emotions that we get from Tangerine and Aaron Taylor Johnson's character showcases that as an audience, the writing in this film is so tight and so strong that we are emotionally connected to two characters that on paper or outside looking in, you would assume were just side characters, but they are prominent characters within this movie, if not low-key the stars of this. And like I said, this is a movie that has Brad Pitt on the cover. Bullet Train is a fantastic action film that handles various different storylines that all come together and make sense. Whereas in The Outside Story, it's a movie that I'm going to be honest. It's a fine movie, but it's one of those movies that unfortunately doesn't give Brian Tyree Henry the opportunity to really showcase his acting abilities. And it's one of those ones because it feels a little Hallmarky, it feels a little Lifetimey. And at the end of the day, it's one of those movies that is going to come and go, and people haven't heard of it or seen it for a reason.
And time. All right, so we're going to go into the 4-minute open discussion round. As I always like to remind competitors, be sure to give each other time to speak. You're kind of trading back and forth, not necessarily always going over each other, but you guys are the pros if there are any, so let's get into it. That said, the timer will start back up when the first competitor speaks.
Go ahead.
You are correct that Bullet Train might be one of Brian Tyree Henry's best performance, but we're talking about the film. And outside of him, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and to a lesser extent, because Brad Pitt is not like going really in depth, this is not his best film at all. I love Bullet Train. I love the characters, but this is style and fun and good characters, but it's all surface level, frenetic Guy Ritchie type movies that I love, but they don't go deeper than that, especially when you come to such a huge ensemble cast and only 2.5 characters. And I'm considering Brad Pitt a half character because, again, he's the focus of the movie. We don't get really deep. They come in, they do their job for a second, and they're gone. It is really nothing more than style. It's style over substance, which isn't bad, but doesn't really get to the heart of anything. And it's overstuffed. David Leitch's worst sensibilities is that he overstuffs everything. So everything is on the surface. And the final 20, 30 minutes of this film takes what was grounded, what was there, and gets into ridiculousness of a train crashing and Brad Pitt going slow motion through a ridiculous crash and things flying, and he somehow lands like domino on a freaking stuffed animal, and it just goes to utter ridiculous where you're sitting there and you're like, my God, I love this movie, but damn, this is long. And damn, I don't care about much of the characters outside of the first three, where it's an outside story, because he is the central character, because he gets to be hilarious, where he gets to get introspective, where you get to see parts where he's just saying nothing because he's learned how he's messed up his relationship, and his eyes say everything, talking to this little girl, talking to this widower. You actually get in depth with the neighborhood, the characters, and the performance to help the film out overall, while Brian Tyree Henry is the greatest thing about Bullet Train and nothing else.
Yeah, so I want to touch on everything with Bullet Train. This is a movie that, like I said, combines a bunch of different storylines. You have Joey King's character, who's throughout the entire time as a potential damsel in distress, as well as pulling the strings throughout the entire thing. And you care about her character, both with her relationship with her father and her vendetta that she's getting on it. So that's an added character that you mentioned. The White Death is a character that just is, mythically speaking, one of those characters that the big reveal of it being Michael Shannon, and it's kind of a rug pulled underneath you. You think it's going to be a different character the entire time. And it's one of those ones, Haruka Sanada. And it's one of those ones the entire time, the writing is just so tight and fantastic. And if you didn't get it on the first time, I understand it because there's a lot going on, but that gives the rewatchability. Whereas the outside story, it's so surface level. The least important character, or at least character you care about, ironically, is Brian Tyree Henry's character, because his whole arc is the fact that he just needs to go outside, which he does in this movie, but all the other characters around him are the better characters. You said the cop with, the meter maid who's the cop, and they form a relationship, but it's a friendship. And it's one of those things that their relationship that they could have built would have been even more entertaining and more engaging than his actual relationship with his ex. You don't really get any backstory with his ex. You get a couple flashbacks, but you don't get any emotional weight that you really see. You just get a lot of exposition that Brian Tyree Henry's character represents that their love is, but you don't actually see that. You get a few eye things, but you don't actually get it on screen. What we're really should be emotionally attached to, the emotionally attached to that we potentially could have gotten, didn't have enough weight to it because we're focusing on the ex-girlfriend with the little girl, which she steals the show. She does a good job, and I want to see her in more stuff, but she's not the main focus of the movie, so you can't really give it too much points for that. And then the cop and all that stuff. So Bullet Train handles all the relationships where at the end of the day you really care about all of them. Outside story, ironically, Brian Tyree Henry is the worst part plot wise.
The thing is, his arc is him going outside makes him face the things that he's doing horribly. He hates the things he has to do at his job, and he has to have the conversations with the meter maid going back and forth. He has to see everybody else to understand that he needs to stand up for himself about the editing decisions that he makes. He needs to be more connected to his girlfriend and the conversations with the widow, with the throuple. The way that seeing how the little girl is fighting with the mom is what makes him show that he needs to treat her better. He is the center of everything.
And time. All right, you guys are going to have 1 minute left to wrap up your arguments. Amaru, you are back up first when you begin speaking.
I I wanted to mention this to rebuttal, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Is it that the Brian Tyree Henry that's the central character, or is it the little girl that's the central character? I couldn't tell which way you were going with that. To me, Brian Tyree Henry, his arc comes from interacting with the people that he's never interacted with before because he's so stuck, and him having to unravel this onion of himself to figure out that going outside is a great thing, is what that arc entails. And his arc and his emotion and his hilariousness allows everybody else around him to also shine. The other characters in Bullet Train, they're predictable stories. Like Joey King, she's a revenge story that just wants to get back at her dad because she was passed over. We've seen that before. Michael Shannon, that change is he's only in it in those last 20 to 30 minutes where you already felt like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff in here. And now we're going from kind of grounded to utter ridiculousness. We're like, this is taking way too long. The Outside Story is better written. The Outside Story is better paced. The Outside Story is better as it goes in depth more with all the characters, and you feel way more than you do for Bullet Train.
And time. All right. And then Henry, final minute of the round when you're ready.
So the Outside Story is one of those movies that I know that no one has seen. So I know a lot of the things you're saying are going to sound clickbaity and headline stuff. But at the end of the day, this movie is a Hallmark style Lifetime movie with no sense of direction in terms of really standing out above the rest. Any movie that you're saying, that Bullet Train could have been like, that's the same thing with Outside Story with the main character, and he break up a relationship and he learns that he needs to get out of a shell. Guess what? That's Forgetting Sarah Marshall. There's movies like that handle it better and are more entertaining and more rewatchable and affect you as well as entertain you at the same time, just like Bullet Train does. Bullet Train handles the emotions of the Tangerine and Lemon character as well as Brad Pitt's character, all the outlandish stuff. They actually self-reference that of the making fun of the action movies and being a satire and talk about how all this stuff happens at the time. That's why you have Ryan Reynolds' character just popping in for, or Channing Tatum popping in for no minute. You have Sandra Bullock on the phone. It's one of those things that's it's a commentary on action movies as well as being a fantastic action movie with fantastic direction, fantastic choreography. The writing is fantastic. It's tight. If you didn't get it the first time, that's good because now you get to rewatch. You get to see all the tiny details that you missed. And Bullet Train is the best movie of his entire career.
And time. All right, guys, excellent first round. I'm going to go ahead and put you guys in the back and bring our judges to the forefront here. So there isn't really much to fact check because it's a title match, because it's going to run a bit longer rather than delaying the time, so to speak, by throwing out jokes and bits. I'm really only going to be fact checking stuff if it stands out as something that's obviously incorrect or needs to be filled in. Everything was clean in that sense this round. So Papa, or Kevin, excuse me, was the one who got pulled in first. Papa's up top because he has access. Kevin, I'll go to you first. Who gets your vote and what was the main selling point?
This was a really good round. I went back and forth a couple times actually, but having recently seen Bullet Train, like I really feel like even though Brian Tyler Henry he does pull off the accent really well. I think there was really good action in that movie, but I think Amaru hit the points of, building the interactions with the meter maid and talking to the girl on the roof, the substance, it's style over substance. And so he won me over with that, the funny, dramatic, warm, comforting look into life. So I went with Amaru.
Okay. So first vote goes to Amaru. Papa, up to you.
Correction, Aaron. I'm up top because I am the best. Very similar to Kevin. I was back and forth. I actually gave my vote to Henry for this one, mainly because he was able to close pretty well with calling Amaru's movie a Hallmark Lifetime movie, and really coming back with good comebacks as far as the no substance, bringing in why there is substance to Bullet Train.
Okay, which means we'll go down to Jeremy. First off, sir, welcome. It's not often we have a first-time judge in a title match, but I appreciate you stepping in here at the end of the season. So I will go to you as well. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point for you?
First off, thanks for having me. I can tell why these guys are in a title match. They are very, very good at this. So I had it dead even until the close, and then I went with Henry because he was able to shoot back at Rue's movies all over the place position by saying the movie, showing the movie is self-referential and is self-aware and makes a joke of it. So I gave Henry the point.
All right, judges, thank you guys so much. I'm going to go ahead and put you in the back, and we'll go ahead and take the competitors on to question number 2. And we are going to be focusing
Shout out Brian
on...
Tyree Henry, guys.
Yeah, genuinely, he's a great actor. I made a joke about Eternals earlier, but he's honestly one of the highlights of that film. So, genuinely, some great stuff there. We'll go ahead and move on to question number 2, and we are going to be focusing on everyone's all-time favorite horror movie killer, Corey Covington. Right? That's his name, right?
Cunningham.
No, we're going to be going to the Halloween franchise, which is known for many, many things. It's known for excellent top-tier horror. It's known for bottom-of-the-barrel, horrible horror. It's known for starting Paul Rudd's career, technically. And it is known for its kills, just like every slasher franchise of the 80s and 90s of alike that have progressed into the modern day. It is known for its kills. And so the question here is, which film of the Halloween franchise overall has the best kills? With that said, we're going to go ahead and jump into this one. Henry, you are up first this time around, so I will give the timer over to you. It'll start when you begin speaking.
All right, so I want to start off by giving a shout out to the Dead Meat YouTube channel. Their kill count, I use a lot of that for reference of this. So I'm choosing Halloween Kills. It's one of those movies that, regardless of what you think about this movie, the kills is what is the reason that this movie is even considered a quality movie or a cult movie, or however you want to go about it. All the people that hate this movie for its story and its acting and its dialogue still give love to the kills, and all the people that say that this is, if not their favorite, one of their favorites, is because of the kills. This movie has 31 kills with an average of 3 kills per minute, or 1 kill per every 3 minutes, which is pretty constant, and that's what you want from a Michael Myers film. This is a movie that showcases that Michael Myers is a fantastic horror icon, and he's able to bring it at the end of the day. He's able to showcase his ability to handle kills both physically, as well as, stepping up and really being iconic with his kills and his different styles of kills. So Halloween Kills is the number 1 best kills of the entire franchise.
And that is time. All right, Amaru, back over to you when you're ready for your opening minute.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. Horror is trash. Horror is stupid. Horror is idiotic. But when they get it right, having to overcome that, how idiotic some of the people are in there, how idiotic things, it is actually done really, really well. And what really hits you with horror when you come to deaths, when it comes to kills, is the impact, the actual fear, the actual dread you get when you have the kills happen. And what comes before, what comes when it happens, what comes after. The actual kills, it's impactful because of who's getting killed. It's impactful because how they're getting killed. It's impactful because of how imposing that person is. And Michael Myers is the epitome of imposing, is the epitome of dread, the epitome of fear. That's why he's called the Shape in the movie. That epitomizes him becoming the Shape because of the way he kills everybody is Halloween 2018.
All right, there we go. That is time. So it is Halloween Kills versus Halloween 2018 for Amaru. I do want to say, judges, viewers at home, derogatory horror comments aside, we are focusing on the arguments. But with that said, let's just say the scale balances out. We have someone who really hates horror and someone who really likes horror. So we've balanced the scale here. With that said, Henry, back over to you. Time starts when you begin speaking.
All right, so like I said, Halloween Kills is a movie that's already become a cult movie, even though it's a little over a year old, because of the fact that it brings what you want from not only a horror film, but also a Michael Myers specific film. It brings the kills. It literally kills in the title for a reason. It lives up to the expectation. The reason that people hate Halloween Ends is because it doesn't live up to the expectations of the title, whereas in Halloween Kills, it does. Like I said, it has 31 kills. It starts off with the firefighter slaughter, which is already 11 kills off the rip. It showcases that Michael Myers can withstand actually being on fire and set off, which is at the end of your movie in 2018. But then not only is he able to do that, but he's able to handle firefighters. I don't know if any of you guys have actually met any firefighters, but they are physically imposing. So the fact that Michael Myers is not only able to kill one, he kills 11 of them. And it's one of those things that it sets the tempo for what this film is doing. Some notable kills within that is he does one with the saw where he smashes, saws up the face. I don't have the word for it, but he saws up the face, and as well as the axe. And it's a lot of it is physically, it's done practically, and there's some actually behind the scenes stuff of it that it's all in shot. And fun fact, there's actually a practical house on fire in the background. So not only is the actual film and scene itself shown awesomely, and it shows Michael Myers' ability to kill, but it also is done practically, and it actually sets the tempo for what we're doing. Moving on to some other kills in this movie. When you think of a horror movie, and shout out to Rue, my opponent, who just said horror is trash. When you think of horror movies and people that think horror is trash because there's a lot of characters that are just throwaway kill fodder. This movie doesn't have that, because a lot of the characters that are killed in this movie actually have substance to them. They actually have some personalities to it. You have the couple, the interracial couple, the older couple that gets killed. Their kill is awesome because one gets smashed through the head with a door, broken glass, and then the other girl, ironically, I will admit, it did get said she wasn't killed in ends, but at the time we did think she was killed with the flashing light bulb in the neck, as well as Big John and Little John, which arguably steal the show the entire movie, and then their death is awesome. So Halloween Kills is the right answer.
All right, that is time. Amaru, back over to you.
When it comes to the kills in 2018, they are the ones that you feel. They are the ones that harken back to what Halloween was about in the first place, that made Michael Myers the imposing person that he is. It's all the dread that comes from going into the bathroom stall, walking up to the thing, rubbing out the door. The fact that him dropping the teeth down in front of her, it's become one of the most iconic scenes in Halloween of the franchise that people remember. It's the one that actually hits you on an emotional level and make you scared. So when he actually starts to brutalize the people, knocking old dude's head on the wall, then choking the life out of her. Yes, Halloween Kills has so many different kills, but it's kind of just kill after kill after kill after quantity over quality. You feel every kill that happens in Halloween 2018. It feels like it actually could happen. Like it isn't some people like firefighters who are all like 5 or 6 standing there and waiting one by one to get killed by a dude who just came out of fire, instead of all of them rushing him at once. Looking at that like, why in the world would they not just, okay, sure, the curb stomp on Dr. whatever his name's, his head is so brutal. The ability to take the 2 cops and rip one's head off and put it on his arm. The one shot of following him and hoping, oh my God, don't kill the baby. And then hearing what is happening to the woman on screen, to finally seeing the kill of the knife going through the neck of the lady looking outside of her window. Everything is so much more impactful. It feels much more realistic. It just hits you on such an emotional level, because also, you actually get time with the majority of the characters who get killed. They get more than 30 minutes on screen, while people like Big John and Little John, you see for 10 minutes. You see the interracial couple for maybe another 10 minutes, and then they're killed. 31 kills, maybe 10 of them, you get time.
All right, we're going to go into the open discussion. The timer starts when the first competitor speaks.
Yeah, so the question is, what has the best kills? So it's one of those combination of, it's obviously a subjective term of what is best. So I'm combining both the best in terms of the quality of the kills as well as the effectiveness of the kills. And Halloween Kills handles that triumphantly. Like I said, all the ones I already mentioned before, but I'm continuing on. One of my favorite kills of all time, let alone not just in the Halloween franchise, let alone not just in this movie, is the one scene with, once again, you build up these characters. The couple, the nurse and the doctor. Ironically, she's dressed up as a nurse because commentary. She's like, oh, I have to be a sexy nurse, but she really is the doctor, and the husband is the nurse. But she's actually shooting, and she's literally trying to kill him, and she's actually handling it good. But Michael Myers kicks the door open, and the gun turns on her, and she shoots herself. That's if not the only time that I've ever seen that. It's one of the few times that I've ever seen that movie. It's one of the few kills. That is an awesome kill. So it is an effective kill of a character that we actually like, and we build up that as well as all the stuff I said at the beginning, and as well as all the brutal kills that we see in Halloween Kills. Halloween 2018, they're even though a lot of people hate the dialogue and some of the side characters like Anthony Michael Hall's character in this movie, all the other ones, the actual kills that we care about. Whereas in Halloween 2018, we don't really care about those guys because they're all just going on the story, because most of the story is wasted on the daughter, which builds up later in the franchise. But in terms of all the characters we care about in 2018, we don't really get that. And Laurie, who is the badass in the movie, she doesn't really do anything actually badass. It's all talk. Whereas in Halloween Kills, all the badass that we actually see on screen.
Who cares about Laurie right now? She doesn't die. What we care about is the kills. You talk about the effectiveness of the kill. How It's about Michael Myers killing. It's about Michael Myers and how
It
impactful.
has the best kills. So there's various kills in my movie. That's what I'm trying to say.
But again, quantity for yours over the quality of my actual kills. You said effectiveness. How effective in real life? How improbable is it that you kick a door and the gun does a whole 360 and shoots you in the head? That is ridiculous.
How improbable is it to have Michael Myers in real life? Now it's you being nitpicky. Just we're in a debate. If you actually look,
it's not nitpicky. It's the fact that in 2018 you can come and see every single kill that you see, and you're like, shit. That can happen in real life. That kind of Michael Myers brutality where he is strong and he's imposing, and I believe he could curb stomp somebody's head. I believe he can stick somebody after stabbing them and stick their face through a pole. I believe that he can pin somebody I can feel he can pin somebody into a wall. I can feel the dread of every single kill that he has, and it's a lot less. It's a lot less kills. But you said 31 kills. If you even give you the couple, which I don't, but the one, his best kill, the light through, she doesn't die. So you can't even take that. If you take away the 2 that you want to say that I don't believe, that means there's 28 kills of people we don't care about. 5 or 6 of them are firefighters who the first one let Mike Myers walk to him for basically 15 seconds straight, and the dude didn't move. I'm sorry, if I'm a firefighter.
You want to talk about water realistic? That is actually a realistic reaction. Same thing with Big or Little John. I don't remember. That's one of the Johns where they just stand there in fear and shell shock, because that's what would happen in a real life situation of a serial killer coming at you. You get shell shock and you deer in headlights, and that's what actually showcasing it, because you actually believe these characters. You have a firefighter, so you already know that he's physically can handle himself, and then you have Big John, Little John. At the time, they'd already been handling themselves. So when he actually comes down to the shock and they stand there, that's what happens. 2018, everything that you're describing about 2018, I wish you would have picked the original Halloween, because all the kills that all the headline things that you're saying right now is better example in Halloween 1978, the original, with stabbing the guy, put him on the wall, with all the stuff of the creepiness and all that stuff. Halloween 2018, it's just a retread of the original, whereas in Halloween Kills does stuff different, and it does it over the top, but it does it in the best way possible. Best kills, most kills, all the kills. Yours has some okay kills, and the teeth scene, which is the best, you don't even see the kill of that.
And time. All right, we got 1 minute left on the round for each competitor. Henry, you're back up first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
So regardless of what approach you want to go with this from, a judging perspective, as well as Rue talking about we want Michael Myers for best, whether it's efficient, effectiveness, overall, whatever. Halloween Kills handles that in spades. You have literally the amount of kills. 1, check that off the book. You have the type of kills, the chainsaw. You have the light through the neck, which at the time was a kill, but I'll even give you it takes away. You have the setting up the kills of Big John and Little John. He rips the eyes and does all that stuff, practical effects, and then he sets them up in Michael Myers fashion, which is what he does character wise. You have the kills with the girl who shoots herself in the head, because Michael Myers shows that he doesn't just have to kill. He's actually smart. He kicks the door and then she kills herself. That's original, and you've never seen that before. You have the kills at the very end of the mob beating him while Laurie's monologue going over, talking about Michael Myers as an entity, and the more he kills, the stronger he gets. So once he comes up and he kills and he overpowers it, and it really brings the fantastical elements, because that's what this is, a fantasy with this type of character. This is not real. This is not what you would actually see in real life, because that is Michael Myers. In Halloween 2018, everything that you said good about that movie is fine, but Halloween 1978 does all that better.
And time. All right, Amaru, back over to you. Final minute of the round, sir.
Sorry. Halloween 2018 pays homage to the original, because you don't have the effects and you don't have the CGI or mixed with practical effects that you do now. So 2018 said, hey, let me actually go back to the original one, and go back to the fear it builds, and go back to the dread it builds, and go back to the realistic version, and make it look more realistic, because they couldn't do that back then. I'm going to pay homage to you to remind everybody why Mike Myers is the killer. He is the shape. You brought up shell shock, that becoming more realistic. Sure, Big John and Little John, yeah. But the firefighters at the beginning, the first one who's flashing him with the water hose for 15 seconds, and the 6 other ones, they are trained to not freeze in fire. So why would 5 of them wait to get killed? Especially the one with the saw. Bum rush his ass. the door hitting the gun and kicking her, it shows the improbability of why quantity over quality doesn't work. You get to see that you not seeing the kills builds to the dread, and impact for 2018 makes it so much better.
All right, that is the end of the round, guys. Another good one. I'm going to go ahead and put you in the back and bring in the judges here for our deliberation. And Papa, you get to go first this time around. So I'll go up to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point for you?
So Aaron, I will do some fact checks for you real quick. Amaru said
Sure.
The horror is trash. That is correct. Horror is trash. And then second off, with the kill with the girl shooting the gun, hits the door and turns right back and shoots herself. He said a 360-degree turn is unrealistic. That is unrealistic. 360-degree turn would be a complete circle. We were looking for a 180-degree turn. But that being said, I am giving it to Henry because he was able to actually build off multiple kills. And I will say the couple doesn't count because they didn't die. He was still able to bring other kills regardless of that and how they were original and really good.
All right. Jeremy, down to you. Same question. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
My vote is for Amaru. Gets my point this round. Mainly because he was able to clap back with the substance over quantity argument. I mean, Henry had his numbers down, but he just named off the kills. Amaru told why the kills were impactful for him watching the movie. So that's why he gets my point.
Understood, which means, Kevin, I go over to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
Yeah, I really like that quantity over quality argument that Amaru made. I love Halloween 2018, and I love the zombie films, but Henry coming in with knowing exactly how many kills are in the film, naming off certain kills, and he was ready for this debate, and so I'm going with Henry.
All right, so the second point will go to Henry. Guys, thank you guys so much. I'm going to go ahead and put you in the back. We will go ahead and get to question number 3 of this matchup. And we are going to be moving over, focusing on a little bit of a speculative debate here because we do know that there is another entry in the Middle-earth saga coming, which is The Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim. It is going to be officially a prequel to the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings films. It is set within continuity of those. In fact, one of the more recent announcements was Miranda Otto is actually coming back to reprise her character within the film. I believe it is more in the concept of a narrator, but she is reprising her character for the film, which is a cool thing that they've added. So it is connected to those films. But it's being handled by actually an anime company. I believe it is the same ones who worked on Blade Runner Black Lotus. Don't hold me 100% to that, but I believe it is the people who did Black Lotus are working on this film. And so I decided to sort of shift the question. We do know who's making it, and we can get a feel for the style it'll probably be in, but we don't actually know anything about the film all that much. So let's hand the creative control over to our competitors. And the question here is, which modern animation director would be your ideal choice to direct The Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim? Now, with that said, there is a very basic plot synopsis you can find online. I think there are 1 or 2 cast members you can find online. And as said, we do know in the real world who is directing this, but this is all theoretical. This is the competitors giving their pitch, their approach, why their director works. So anything that you individually may know about the movie, put it out of your mind to some extent and allow the competitors to give you their pitch as to why this would work for said film. That said, Amaru, I'm going to turn it over to you. The timer will start back up when you begin speaking.
When it comes to Middle-earth, you need to do 3 things well, and you kind of need to do those 3 things simultaneously. You need to be epic, because Lord of the Rings is epic, period. You need to simultaneously be able to create intimacy. Because if you are epic for epic's sake, you end up with The Hobbit. And you don't really care. But at the same time, the reason you need that intimacy is because you need to create characters that you love. And essentially a lot of characters that you love, because another great point of Lord of the Rings is that they bring a lot of characters together. You make them love damn near all of them. And all of that at once gives you probably the most epic franchise, the best trilogy of all time. And now with this movie, you need to do it animated. You don't get to see the people. You got to do it with voices. And the one director who has proven to me that he is able to handle all of that is Brad Bird. Give him the reins. He'll show you what he can do.
All right, so that is going to be the opening minute. Brad Bird is the answer. Henry, I will go over to you for your opening minute.
Similar to the first question, I'm actually glad that Rue went first in this, because he set up essentially what I'm going to go for, and I'm going to be able to expand on that. You do need epic, you need MCC, you do need characters, but you also need just the concept of world building. And I went with Carlos Lopez Estrada. That's a name that you might not be familiar with based on the name, but you know that two of the movies that he's been a part of and he's had a hand in. Blind Spotting, which is a live action film, but also Raya and the Last Dragon, which came out last year, and that is exactly Blind Spotting. But Raya and the Last Dragon. And the reason that I answered, a little behind the scenes, I answered Carlos Lopez Estrada immediately because Raya and the Last Dragon is the first thing I thought of when I thought of this question, because of the world building that you get within Raya and the Last Dragon, the Kumandra, and how it sets up the 5 different tribes of Heart, Fang, Talon, Spine, and Tail. And it does one of those things where it showcases the abilities of different areas of this universe that you're building up. The fantasy aspect, which, reminder, Lord of the Rings and any variation of it is going to be fantasy. So Carlos Lopez Estrada showcased that he can handle the fantasy as well as the epicness, as well as all of the characters that I'll get into in a minute.
And
2 minutes.
Time. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump back over. So a couple of things to clear up. I like to do this at the end of the opening minutes for anyone out there who may be a stickler. Both of these directors are animation directors, but they, of course, have dabbled in live action. The competitors are open to use whatever they prefer out of the respective directors' filmographies. That said, if you're not a fan particularly of the live action entries, that's not just free reign to shit on them. It's more so you can use what they have made to pull from to support your argument. The other aspect of this is for anyone out there who wants to argue because Carlos Lopez Estrada co-directed one film for Disney and is not, quote, an animation director in the same way Brad Bird is, and accepting the answer and doing some research, even though he is no longer with Disney, he is actively working on an animation film with an independent studio, so he is still therefore an animation director. Again, some people will ride technicalities, and we want to clear those out of the air. But that said, Rue, we are back over to you with Brad Bird. Time starts when you begin speaking.
You want to talk about epicness, and two of the most epic movies ever, when there are a lot of them, but epic that work. One animated, The Incredibles, absolutely epic, extremely epic. Mission Impossible might be the most epic franchise of all time, and he is the guy that I'm not going to say turned around the franchise, because Mission Impossible 3 is amazing, but he turned around the franchise in terms of what Mission Impossible is today, being able to take the world that was already there, build upon it some more, and expand on those characters. And Brad Bird's ability to take characters and make you love them, put them in a world and make it feel big and make it feel wide and make it feel expansive, but still love every single character you get into, especially groups of characters. The Parr family is just there's so much individuals, but also a group unit. That group in Gross Protocol are such individuals with such a group unit. And that is exactly what we fell in love with the Fellowship. The kind of epicness and battles we see in The Incredibles, in the set pieces that we see in Ghost Protocol, that he can know what things look like, is what we love about action scenes like Helm's Deep, which is who this movie is being named after. And then you get into character, and then you get into loving character. And I don't know, outside of the Parrs, outside of being able to take a pre-existing character and build on them and add on to them, like Benji and like Ethan Hunt and oh my gosh, Luther. Thank you, Luther Stickle. But Ratatouille is often felt as one of the most lovable and greatest Pixar films of all time, and he helmed that, showing he can helm different kinds of movie. Lord of the Rings is fantasy, but you feel like everything in there is real. And when you go animated, you have to make it feel real. And The Incredibles feels real. Ratatouille feels real, but it is fantasy. He can take epicness, he can take intimacy, and he can take characters, and he can blow it out of the water.
And time. All right, Henry, back over to you.
So Rue was able to give specific examples of why the character stuff and the the small scale stuff is really great, but he really wasn't able to give examples of the epicness for Brad Bird, and that's my issue with Brad Bird. Obviously, he's a good director. I'm not going to shit on him as a director, but I don't think it would be the right choice for this. I would equate that to being like Ron Howard for Solo, and it kind of just he's stepping in as a good director, but he's not really hitting the mark of what we want for this type of storyline. Brad Bird's all of his best attributes of within his films are the small scale stuff, the family aspects of the Parr family. The relationship between the characters. When you think of all the quote unquote epicness, it's on an island, really, if you think about it. In the first one and the second one, it's on like a boat. You know what I mean? All that small scale. Everything with the Mission Impossible franchise, sure, the epicness of the grand scale of the world being in danger, yes. But what we actually see on screen, you have the building, you have the one scene in the city with the dust and all that stuff. It's not really the epicness that we're looking for. Iron Giant, small scale. You know what I mean? All these movies that he's a part of, it's all really small scale. So yes, he handles the characters and the intimacy, sure, but the epicness, what we don't have. Raya and the Last Dragon is a movie that handles everything that you want from a Lord of the Rings type of spin-off movie. Battle of Helm's Deep, it showcases that you can handle the different tribes, like I said, with all the 5 tribes within the Commandra of Raya and the Last Dragon. And if you want to go the anime route, the Droon in Raya and the Last Dragon literally looks like something out of Princess Mononoke with the different shape-shifting stuff and all stuff. And it actually has dragons, literally dragons in the title. And that's something that you want to see from like a Lord of the Rings type of movie, because it shows the epicness and the fantasy elements of Raya, or of a Lord of the Rings movie. And the Battle of Helm's Deep, it shows the battle. Literally, in Raya and the Last Dragon, there's hand-to-hand battle, there's sword battle, there's epic battles, flying on the dragons, all the stuff you see within the water and is within the air. And if we want to talk about just character stuff, in Blind Spotting, it's some of the best characters you've ever seen. But guess what? Oakland, small scale, but it makes it feel like it's above the world. It makes it feel like it's actually Wakanda itself, of the grand scale of what Carlos Lopez Estrada is able to build within that universe because of his storytelling and his ability to handle all of it.
And time. All right, we're going into the open discussion round. The timer starts and the first competitor speaks.
I would love to see Carlos Lopez Estrada do this. I don't believe either of our answers are wrong. So when you get to that point where you have 2 people who can do it, you have to say who is better fitted at the moment. And at the moment, it is Brad Bird, who has proven it. Blind Spotting is small. Oakland is called the town because it is a town compared to the city that is San Francisco. The Raya and the Last Dragon seems perfect. However, Carlos Lopez Estrada has never helmed a movie on his own. And when it comes to animation, he has always done it with someone else. And yes, that might seem small, but it's big. Getting a partner to build off of, to take all that stuff and make it build it bigger, and to getting it on your own. Brad Bird has done it on his own. You talked about world building. The epicness of The Incredibles is having to build on the legality and the characters. And in the massive superhero business we are already in, he built a superhero world 4 years before it really kicked off with Iron Man. You want to talk about epicness in Mission Impossible? The Burj Khalifa is the biggest building in the world. There is nothing more epic than that. There is nothing more epic than taking the iconic Mission Impossible and building on it and making that scene go again. He is able to build on something that's already there, which you need to do for Lord of the Rings, and make it bigger. He is able to build his own world, which makes that his ability to create new things and make it feel new. He has shown he can do all 3 things. Carlos hasn't shown it yet. He has not shown that epic.
Everything that you're talking about with this Brad Bird, I give you credit. You keep bringing epic in there, but you're talking about epic in concept, not in actual scale. Lord of the Rings, everything that we love about the Lord of the Rings trilogy and we hate about the Hobbit trilogy is the fact of everything of the scale and the epicness of the world. Honestly, if you ask anybody who hates the Hobbit trilogy, no one's really dissing on the characters. They actually like all the dwarves and everything with Gollum and everything with Gandalf. The characters are fine. It's the world that is within that trilogy that we don't like because it's a one movie stretched out to 3. Lord of the Rings, everything that we love about it is the world, and that's what Carlos Lopez Estrada can bring to it. And that's the reason that I use Blind Spotting as a support, because even though it takes place in one city, it handles the concept of gentrification. It handles the concept of the world within that we see of the police shooting and handling all stuff and the demographics of all that, as well as the hipsters coming into town. It really showcased all that stuff because that's stuff that makes it feel bigger than it really is. Yes, it is the town, but it's the world coming into that. And that's what we want from Helm's Deep, the Battle of Helm's Deep that you want. You're protecting that land and you're protecting that area. And that's what we want. And that's what Carlos Lopez Estrada can handle, because with everything, like I said, everything with Raya and the Last Dragon, it physically showcases what we want, but Blind Spotting supplements that of the metaphor and everything that he can bring to it on a mindset. Brad Bird is very small scale. He's going to handle a decent amount of it. He's the Ron Howard of this. Like I said, it's one of those things where it's like no one really hates Solo, but Ron Howard didn't bring that extra oomph that we would want from the Solo movie.
There's
and that's
nothing,
what Brad Bird would do with this.
The majority of what Brad Bird done is amazing. There's only one movie connected to him that you might think is bad, and you forget that he did that.
And that's ironically the most epic.
I not at all. Mission Impossible is a globe-trotting movie. Mission Impossible is a globe-trotting movie. You want to talk about making something small and epic? He takes a rat, the smallest thing, with the most disgusting thing in the world of cooking, which is giantly epic, and makes him the biggest character in the entirety of the world of cooking. In the world of cooking. In the superhero genre is the biggest, most epic thing ever. You want to talk about the tribes in Raya and the Last Dragon? He creates different superheroes with different super abilities and allows them to come together and show what they can do off each other.
It is Four with the ones that we actually get depth from, and everything else. Side characters aren't as interesting, like in Incredibles.
He made the only good Fantastic Four movie. He took a previous iteration and made it better. We're not making an original concept here. We're making Lord of the Rings. We need to build on an existing IP and make it better.
That is not what we've seen yet.
And time. All right, we're going to go into the 1 minute closings. Amaru, you are back up first for the minute. Time starts when you begin speaking.
I've talked about the epicness a lot and proven that Brad Bird can do the epicness, but what he does better is the intimate and the small stuff, which makes the difference between Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Henry talked about world building, and not only has he created his own world with The Incredibles, Incredibles 2, and The Family, he's able to take a previous movie like Mission Impossible and change the outlook, change what it looks like while making it still seem like a Mission Impossible franchise, but making it into what it is today is what he needs to do with a new Lord of the Rings franchise. Is take what we've seen and make it into something new, but we still love. What The Hobbit didn't do, he can, and he's proven he can do it on his own with animation, with The Iron Giant, with Incredibles, and with Ratatouille, where he takes things that feel small and intimate and make them grand and gesture in both size, in concept, with the world of cooking, which is enormous, with the world of superheroes, which is enormous. Carlos Lopez Estrada has done small scale and only small scale. The Town is called The Town for a reason, and he's not a Lion Dragon. He co-directed.
All right, Henry, you get the final minute of the round when ready.
So once again, everything that you're saying that supplements Brad Bird's of epicness is based in concept, not in actual scale. What we see on screen is not what we're getting from everything you said. The superhero genre is epic, but what we see on screen, not quite. Whatever you see in Mission Impossible of the spy stuff, that's epic, but not what we see on screen. Everything with Raya and the Last Dragon, it showcases that these 5 tribes come together, and the whole moral of this story at the end of the day is the fact of trust. Let me trust them because that's what's going to bring us together. And literally it ends on a down note where they all turn to stone, and then at the end of the day, their trust is what really overcomes that. And you have the character of Sisu, the dragon character, with it combines both comedy as well as just epicness and all that stuff. And then you have the characters in Blind Spotting. Miles and Colin are 2 characters that literally the intimacy, it showcases that you can come together from different sides of the street and really come together and become best friends, because on paper you don't really have that. Raya and the Last Dragon showcases that the epicness is scale because you have the actual action scenes that you would want from a Lord of the Rings movie, as well as the concept, whereas everything you're saying, it is small scale in concept and in practice. Or not concept, just practice. Sorry.
All right. Another excellent round, guys. The passion came out there. I'm going to go ahead and put both of you guys in the back and bring in our judges for the deliberation here. With that said, Jeremy, you are up first this time around, so I will go to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
I'm going to give it to Rue on this one, mainly because he brought up a good point about Brad Bird having done plenty of animation alone, and the other guy has never done one by himself, apparently. I mean, I don't know if that's a fact-checkable thing. I didn't check it, so
that is, yeah. Again, and, I can confirm that Raya and the Last Dragon was co-directed by Don Hall, who had worked within Disney before, but Carlos Lopez Estrada is credited as the lead director, with Don Hall being the co. So you can take that for what it will, but he did have help technically directing the film.
But the other point was how Brad Bird makes small things big. A rat, and it becomes the focus point of this fantastic movie. Like, it was a great point. So Rube gets my point for this one.
All right, Kevin, over to you.
I actually am. I couldn't have said it any better. What Jeremy said. Brad is, I'm sorry, Brad. Amaru is going to get my point because Brad Bird, he has the experience, and Amaru just kept pressing on that. I feel like Henry kind of kept going back to the well of the blind spotting and making Oakland feel bigger than it is, which is great. But I just feel like I got a lot more out of Amaru, so I went with Drew.
All right, judges, thank you guys so much. We'll go ahead and take it to the back and go ahead and get into question number 4 of this title match. It's a hell of a one so far. You guys have been going back and forth. So let's go ahead. Since this match is lively, this match is on fire, let's use it to try and revive something, because the Saw franchise is in the fucking ground 6 feet under. Let's just be real here. These last couple of movies haven't hit critically. The latest one didn't hit financially. Supposedly they're moving ahead with a Saw 10, although nobody really knows anything about it. So we're going to give kind of a similar question here. Let's give these guys some creative freedom. The question is, following Jigsaw and Spiral, how would you try and relaunch the Saw franchise with Saw 10? Now, again, similar to the last question, all I asked for out of the competitors was a one-answer log line, just to make sure that their answers on a baseline level were not the same. So keep in mind, what I'm going to display for you on the screen is not tooth and nail hold them to this exact type of wording. It's more so just the concept of what it is they're trying to pitch. We're paying attention more to what is being said within the argument. And other than that, they are free to go wherever they like. Similarly, I do believe that they have announced in the time since this question was written that they are bringing back another director from within the Saw franchise to helm the film itself. But that's not accounted towards this film. We are just going to be going off of what the competitors are giving us. So with that said, Henry, you are up first, sir, with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and give the timer on screen, and it will start back up for you when you're ready.
Yeah, so obviously the Saw franchise is my second favorite franchise of all time, so I'm going to have a little more passion than even the judges hearing it. But it's one of those things that when you think of the highlights of this franchise, you think of what worked for this franchise. So if you take out the quote unquote torture porn, which is what it, arguably became, I don't agree with that, but it's one of those things that was used the universal knock on the Saw franchise, the torture porn. So if you take that out of it, what really brought the Saw franchise to its heights, and that is the fact of the concept of live or die, make your choice. Who wants to live based on the abilities of taking, the fact that they're taking advantage of their life. So what I'm doing is I'm going to have a sequel literally to Jigsaw, both Jigsaw and Spiral, and I'm going to bring back Cary Elwes as well as the Logan character from Jigsaw, and I'm going to have them come against the Max Minghella character in Spiral, and I'm going to combine those two franchises. I'm going to really have it there with Chris Rock also in the background. So I'm going to technically have a Saw 10 sequel to Jigsaw and Spiral.
And time. All right. Amaru, over to you, sir. 1 minute on the clock.
Saw just keeps going, doesn't it? And as bad as it has been, there's reasons why Saw keeps going. And the biggest reasons that I've seen for me, one is it has gone into torture porn, but at least the original and some aspects of the early ones, the ingenuity of the kills have always been great. But even more so, especially looking back at the movie that I'm going to talk about, the actual good aspects of them tend to be the idea behind the killing of those who have taken advantage of their life, taking advantage of others, and them getting their comeuppance and seeing how they have affected others. That lesson that needs to be learned is a really strong point. And also, the interconnectivity of this entire world is probably as intricate as you've seen in anything. So for me, I think the best way to move forward is to bring back Brent Abbott from Saw 6, whose father died due to the actions of the main guy in Saw 6, and bring him back as Jigsaw, amongst other things.
And time. And with their judges, people at home, you can kind of see my summation of what they're saying is a very brief summation, which is why the arguments are more important than ever here. But with that said, we have the baseline laid. One competitor is combining the previous spin-offs we've seen to continue the franchise. One is going back to the groundwork Saw 6 laid. Who sells you more? Henry, over to you when you begin speaking.
So I'm going to keep it real. I realize that both of us are going to use our 2 minutes to pitch our film, and I know it's how it's going. The 4 minutes going to be a shit show. So with that said, I'm going to start the pitch with my movie. So what I'm doing in Saw 10 is I'm going to bring back Logan from Jigsaw, who we were revealed was helping Carrie Elwes' his character, which was also revealed at the end of Saw 7 to been helping John Kramer the entire time after he was redeemed after the original Saw. So those characters have the John Kramer legacy in terms of what they believe in. That is the core of my film from these characters, is they have the true beliefs of repentancy and actually understanding that you need to respect life and respect the life that you're given, and all the people that take it for granted, they need to be tested or potentially punished. So they need to put in that perspective. Whereas in Spiral, Max Minghell's character has a vendetta against the police force. So everything that he's doing in that movie is unwinnable. And what he's doing is not the true core of Jigsaw, which is technically why it's a spinoff, because he's not handling it the same way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue the Spiral storyline, and he's going to put Chris Rock's character in a maze-like trap where he's going to give him anywhere from 3 to 5 different traps where he's going to go into a maze, and he's going to go up against different corrupt cops. He's going to show him the ways that those cops have been corrupted and the wrong that they've done. And he's going to give Chris Rock the chance. Because he's really trying to turn him. He's really trying to help him be his accomplice, because he wants to be the new Jigsaw, and he wants Chris Rock's character Zeke to be his accomplice. So what he's doing is he's trying to turn him mentally, and he's really trying to have them. So he's going to showcase front and center all these corrupt cops, and he's going to give Zeke's character the chance to make that choice. Whereas Logan and Carrie Elwes' character, Dr. Gordon, they don't like that. So now they're going to use all their investigative, abilities, because they're both doctors. They're smart. They're going to now find out how to stop him. So now it's essentially, it's like in Silence of the Lambs, how you have Dr. Hannibal Lecter, who we don't like as a character because he's a bad person, but he's helping stop Buffalo Bill. So that's essentially what I'm doing with Saw 10.
And time. All right, Amaru, 2 minutes to you.
So the reason my main focus is on Brett Abbott is because he was a survivor of Saw 6, and he has a clear motive to become the apprentice of Jigsaw. Because as we had seen in Saw 6, the main character who's going through the Kramer-like storyline in 6 basically gave a death sentence to his dad, not covering him with the healthcare system. And Brett Abbott was directly victimized by the healthcare system, just like John Kramer was. So that would be a perfect reason for him to get older, to plan out his own copycat, and to go against the same corrupt system that John Kramer had to go against himself. It also brings the opportunity to bring back 2 of the people from Saw 6 who were in a trap. It was Emily and Shelby from the dude's dog pit, who would help find the little loopholes in the healthcare system to deny people their coverage, which was what happened to Brett Abbott's dad. You can bring them back with, at the beginning, opening with them 2 in a callback to the carousel ride they were in before, and adding on to the intricacy of the Saw franchise. One of those 2 people, Emily, was also in Saw 3D in a group, a support group with Bobby Dagan. And the whole thing that you're going to do is, I got a picture that Brett Abbott is actually going to be the Jigsaw killer. But the whole time it becomes a mystery because Bobby Dagan is coming back because he was also somebody victimized. And you're like, wait a second, is it Bobby? Is it Brent? We're also going to bring back Carrie Elwes' character, who's very intricate to this because he is in the healthcare system, and you need to start planting little seeds of, wait a second, you see the little hints that he was helping all the way along. Is he the one really taking over? It also brings resolution to whether or not Hoffman survived after the events of everything that's happened. It actually naturally brings along the interconnectivity, an actual person who wants to become Jigsaw, and continues the stories of a lot of open characters that can be closed, because it should be closed, in Saw 10.
And time. All right. So we're going to go ahead and go into the 4-minute open discussion. The timer starts when the first competitor
So I want to start off by saying the character of Brent, he's one of the reasons that the only reason he actually made the decision to kill the main guy in Saw 6 is because of the vendetta specifically against his dad. He doesn't really have the overarching issue that John Kramer had with the vendetta against the healthcare system. It was just specifically this guy because he killed his dad. Whereas in the original Saw franchise, John Kramer had an issue with the entire concept because of how they just didn't care about their patients and how they do that. So that's the difference there. Whereas in what I'm doing in the end of Jigsaw and Spiral, if you think about why these movies failed, it's not because of the actual movies that we got story-wise. It's because just unfortunately, people's, lack of interest in the concept of Saw because of, unfortunately, Saw 6 and Saw 7, what happened before, and they got tired of it. The actual storylines of these movies are very detailed, and they handle it very smartly. You have the Spierig brothers from Jigsaw, and you have wow, I'm just blanking on the name. Darren Lynn Bousman for Spiral. So either of these directors come back and direct Saw 7. I'm going to pick Darren Lynn Bousman just because it's more of a direct sequel to Spiral, and they're going to combine the concepts of Jigsaw and Spiral, and that's why this movie is going to keep moving the franchise forward instead of going back, is what you're pitching.
So here's the deal with combining Jigsaw and Spiral. First off, two probably the worst entries in the entire bad franchise, and putting them together, which is not a good idea. But we have both said that the intricacy is its strength, right? But it's a strength that we are looking to pull from in a really bad franchise, because it's the only thing you can kind of hold on to, because it's so close to being overstuffed and overcomplicated. And it seems like you're bringing together a lot of moving parts that have to be pitch perfect to work, because they are Jigsaw and Spiral are so tonally different. Jigsaw is a legacy sequel, going off of Kramer's legacy and building off the healthcare, while Spiral is more inspired. The antagonist and protagonist in Spiral both survive, so we know Zeke is Chris Rock's character is still going after him, still wants to continue to look at him.
You have trap that's going to start the plot of Saw 10. That's why.
How did he get into that trap? Why are we starting there? I'd rather know what he did afterwards to go after the guy, but you have to then connect it to the end of Jigsaw, where the killer actually got away, so he's actually being Jigsaw right now.
At the end of Spiral, he gets away because he made the choice to shoot his dad, and he really tested him, and he didn't want to go against it. So now he knows that he can't trust Zeke, but there's still potential in there because he understands he hates the concept of the corrupt cops. So he's put in position story-wise to handle these corrupt cops. So he's really trying to turn them, like I said. And the legacy of Jigsaw, of Carrie Elwes' character, Dr. Gordon, and Logan, is they actually have the actual heart of it. And that's the reason, that's what separated Hoffman as the new Jigsaw. It is he didn't have that heart, and he didn't really follow the Jigsaw, concept. That's why he was under the test in the latter half of the movies once John Kramer was dead. So they're going to carry over that legacy, and they're going to combine, similar to Hannibal Lecter and Bill from Buffalo Bill and Silence of the Lambs. It's going to be a story like that, while it's going into a maze, and it's going to be intricate, and it's all going to come together. Your movie is literally just going back, and no one cares about that character from Saw 6. Whether you like my movie or not, you actually remember and you care about these characters.
Nobody cares about any of the characters because the movies are horrible. But again, all that sounds good and well when you have the details together. But when you think about where the movies come from, Spiral, again, I want to know why is Chris Rock's character already caught? Why are we not looking into what he did to pursue the guy that got away? Why are we shoehorning police corruption into the healthcare system? You talked about Brett Abbott had no reason to go against the healthcare system. He's a kid we had 10 minutes with total. As he's growing up, he's going to know the healthcare system is the reason why it went to shit. So his ability to learn how he grew, to see his growth and see how he wanted to become the Jigsaw killer conceptually makes more sense to then go into the details. You cannot skip the big concepts of one being a legacy versus one being inspired and go straight to the details.
And time. All right. I do want to, before we go to the closing, give both of you guys credit, because this could have gone really messy really quick, but I do think you guys did a great job of keeping the details straight, so effort to both of you. That was really well done there. That said, though, we do have 1 minute left on the round for each of you. Henry, you are back up first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
So I'm not going to waste time really talking about this, but I want to say a correction is he doesn't have an issue with the healthcare system. He has an issue with the insurance company, because that's who that guy worked for. He's the insurance company, and that's the greed of all that stuff. So the whole connection to John Kramer doesn't really match up there. Whereas in, like I said, everything with the end of Spiral and Jigsaw, those characters really care, and they have the practice and the actual work ethic of, I don't want to say work, I don't have a better word around, but the practice and the skills of being a Jigsaw trap. And they don't like the fact that Max Minghell's character really used the concept of John Kramer and spun off and did a terrible job of it, and didn't respect the craft and didn't really test him, because he didn't give anyone chance to survive. Because look at throughout, regardless of what you think of these movies, there are people within the Saw franchise that survived because the traps are winnable. The Spiral character didn't give them a chance to win, and that's why the characters from Jigsaw and Dr. Lawrence Gordon, they're coming back to them, and everything putting Zeke into the trap is because he got away and he got in trouble at the end, and then now he's captured him, and now he's put him in the trap, and that is the basis of this entire story.
And time. All right, and Amaru, you have the final minute when ready.
Brent Abbott is mad at the insurance system, and insurance is the healthcare system. Universal healthcare is a huge talking point anytime you talk about healthcare, and it's because of insurance companies not getting their money. Insurance and healthcare are completely linked. I'm not going to act like I know the details of Saw. I don't. But I know when you go into a movie that already has, and a franchise that already has history, you cannot go into the details without knowing the bigger picture. And the combination of Jigsaw and Spiral are just too many interconnected parts that I don't see how they connect. You got police corruption versus healthcare corruption. Why are those two going to connect in the first place? Why do we start with them coming together? Spiral's story is open. The antagonist and protagonist are both alive. That means the protagonist is still going to go after him. Why? I want to know what happened to him afterwards and how he got into the trap, not start with him in the trap. On top of that, the star power of Spiral with Chris Rock could overshadow the legacy characters. My story is a direct continuation, fits much more better, allows for that intricacy, and allows for the lessons to still be learned.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this round up. Once again, guys, excellent job. We'll go ahead and move you guys into the back and bring our judges back into the stream here. So I'm going to go ahead and just run off some, not really fact checks, but more just for the entertainment at home. I'm going to give the judges a chance to get their thoughts together since there was a lot in that. So for anyone who's curious what we do know about the real Saw 10, because there is a little bit of information that was released in October of 2022. So I guess a little bit before we set this up. The movie, it seems like it's some weird amalgamation of what both of these guys pitched. They are bringing back director Kevin Greutert, I think I definitely said that wrong, who directed Saw 6 and Saw 3D to direct the film. However, it's being written once again by Josh Stolberg and Peter Goldfinger, who wrote both Jigsaw and Spiral. And apparently they've already begun negotiations with actor Tobin Bell to reprise his role of John Kramer Jigsaw, and Shawnee Smith to return in the role of Amanda Young. My question is, for a franchise that seems to want to spin off and reboot itself for a modern audience, why do you keep going back to like literally the same things that have happened in the other films? And I mean like the filmmakers and the behind the scenes. Like Spiral sounded interesting to me at first because it was a new concept, but then you read into it and it's like it's the same director as like the second and third film, and it's the writer from the last film, and it's like, I don't know, I just feel like getting new real talent in there would do something for you. But that's not what this is about. This was just a vamping point to give the judges some more time to think. So we're going to go to those judges who thought. Kevin, you're up first this time around. Who gets your point, and what was the main sell?
Henry's going to get my point for this one. There were some good points made on both sides, but Henry sold me when he said at the very beginning, take out the torture porn and let's get back to the main concept of live or die, make your choice. And so, when he said that, that really sold me. Saying, go back to director Darren Lynn Bousman, like those kind of things really sold me even more. So Henry had me from the beginning.
All right, Papa, up to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
I want to commend both of you. You did a great job. I'm not going to watch either movies because I hate horror. Nothing against either of what y'all two said. That being said, I am also giving it to Henry. And really the one thing that tipped me over was at the beginning of the 4 minutes, he made a comment of why Brent Abbott doesn't make sense as the new Jigsaw killer and how Hoffman isn't that good of a character. And Amaru didn't really touch on it until the beginning of his closing. I didn't even feel like that was a good enough rebuttal as to why he didn't make sense.
All right. Well, judges, thank you guys so much. I'm going to go ahead and put you guys behind the scenes as we are going to go ahead and move on. This is a title match, so despite the fact that the score is 3-1, we are not yet done here. We're going to go ahead and move into the blind rounds. Now, if this is somehow
you've been here before.
Match,
many a times.
if this is your first match watching at home, first off, this is 130. Why the hell are you here this late? Secondly, what is a blind round? Well, we'll go ahead and get into it. For the blind round, the questions are questions that have no correlation or any sense to what we have asked previously. They are two random questions selected by me for these competitors to debate. The way that this is going to work is I'm going to give them a general prompt of a question. So simply, my classic example has been name me a Will Smith film. They will subsequently name me a Will Smith movie. Then I will actually give them what the question is. Even if they don't 100% feel that their answer meets the question, if they had had that knowledge prior, they will have to do their best to debate it. And we have seen many a time that a competitor can debate the wrong choice, I guess, theoretically, and still get the point. So it's absolutely possible to do. With that said, once they have selected their answers, we're going to give them some time off screen to put together some quick arguments so they're not just doing it completely off the cuff. But we will give them that chance. With that said, though, because it is a title match, questions 5 and 6 are both blind rounds. There's 2 of them. We're going to answer them both first. Then we're going to give you guys the time to prep, so you'll have time to put together both questions, and then we'll come back and debate. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. With that said, are you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And as a reminder, you guys can take a second to research if you feel the need to research. You can also take a sec on answering. Normally, whoever answers first goes first, but as we have predetermined who goes first on what, it's already been decided. With that said, your first prompt is as basic as it can get. Name me a sci-fi film.
"2001: A Space Odyssey."
Okay. "2001: A Space Odyssey" from Henry. StreamYard is telling me I spelled Odyssey wrong. That feels about right. Nope, did I? I don't know.
The Matrix.
Is that right? Yes, I did. You said The Matrix?
Yes, Matrix.
Got it. All right, so we have 2001 versus The Matrix. With that said, we're going to go ahead and do the second prompt before I reveal the question. And this one is the exact opposite. It's highly hyper-specific and very timely. The prompt is, name me a film featuring or starring Sam Worthington released in the 2000s. And that is 2000 to 2009.
Avatar.
Avatar.
Totally understand the reason for this question.
Look, he has been relevant in about 13 years. We had to ask it now or never.
Terminator Salvation. The two that would be brought up.
Terminator Salvation.
Thank God I've seen it. If this was my last title match, I wouldn't have seen it at that point, so I could at least argue for it. Either way.
All right, guys. So we do have the questions in. For question 1, the answers are The Matrix versus 2001: A Space Odyssey. The question is, what is the worst sci-fi film of all time, and vice versa? For Salvation versus Avatar, the question is, what is the best Sam Worthington film released in the 2000s? With that said, we're going to go ahead and cut to a quick interlude. For you at home, it'll be just a couple of seconds, but we'll be back with the blind round.